Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another episode of the Third Fleet podcast. This is episode number 20, and I'm here, obviously, with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Gaijin Hunter. How are you doing, sir? Have you been having a fantastic week with more Monster Hunter Rise, you and Yuna just playing nonstop still, or what's going down?
What is sleep? Who needs sleep? I don't know what that is. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I've been starting meditating a whole lot these past couple of weeks, which have helped a lot with me being able to achieve goals, which was interesting because I was looking at my channel just before we start because I had this in my mind. They're like, okay, so far I've done like 4 weapon guides. That's wrong. I've actually done 5. I've done 5 weapon guides already, and I was like, damn. I thought I had only done 4.
What we need now is we need a Monster Hunter meditation video.
Monster Hunter meditation video? Meditate. Yeah, I could do guided meditation for Monster Hunter. That'd be amazing.
Exactly.
Feel
you have
yourself.
Sounds of Jaggies in the background.
Exactly. No. Jaggies would mess up your meditation, but you can have like a kind of like a bit of an ambient sounds from Kimura and stuff, and I can be going like, you can feel yourself becoming a better hunter.
Yes, you combine the honey. It's sweet.
You combine the honey with the herb and you drink it, and it's so nice. Anyway, in the last podcast, we talked about potentially doing a spoiler cast and when we could potentially do that. So I asked that question to my chat through community poll. I say my chat, in the YouTube thing, there's like a communities thing. And I made a poll, and right now it's at 7,400 votes or something like that. And most people are saying next week. Hell, most people wanted it this week. They're like, now, do it now, because I guess, at this point, a lot of people have been through the game. I only gave the option next week and then 2 weeks and 3 weeks from now. Most people, like at 79% or whatever it was, were just like, do it next week. So next week we will do a spoiler cast. We will make sure to tag it, warn you guys well in advance. There's not going to be spoilers on thumbnails or on titles or anything like that. I mean, I'm going to write spoilers, as in the word spoilers, in there to warn you.
Yeah, so if you don't want to know anything about unannounced stuff, then next week will be one to put on the back catalog to come back to.
Yeah, exactly.
I think next week is good because we're like literally 2 weeks out from the big update or so.
Is it 2 weeks out? That was one of the things.
Well, they said they said end of April, so that's 2 weeks.
But wait, I have that one a little bit further ahead for us to talk about because
Okay.
I don't remember if we talked about this in any of the podcasts. Did we talk about the sales of Monster Hunter? Because like last week they announced that the game is actually sold 5 million copies.
5 million, yeah.
5 million,
which is awesome.
Which is actually now that I talk about it, I do think that we talked about it.
Yeah. It's their biggest single platform release.
Exactly that. Because when I said it just now, I was like, I think Gaijin even said it's the biggest single platform thing.
Yes. Hey, I'm consistent.
Exactly. So never mind. But there probably still is a an item thing that you can get if you go to the little network Palico.
Yeah.
Little dude who sends you to lobbies and stuff. So make sure that you pick that up. There's a couple of good items there. But yeah, the next topic that I did wanted to bring up was the update. And I wanted to ask you think it's going to be next week or if it's going to be 2 weeks from now? Because they said
end of April, so I'm going to guess 2 weeks. I'm going to guess it's going to be like the end of April. So I'm going to guess it's going to be like the 28th, 29th, somewhere around there. End of the month. Which is why I'm expecting, I would love to be wrong. I'm expecting next week we're going to get a new trailer.
We just got a trailer, I feel like, not even that long ago. Wasn't it like 2 weeks ago that we got
And watch we get it like right after we record the podcast. It's bound to happen. Because they've been doing trailers on like Thursdays lately now, right? Because I think they're no longer relying on printed media, which is always Thursdays here in Japan. So it seems like Thursdays and Fridays is like a popular time for them to go out with info so that people aren't expecting it to be in the magazines that week. So I would love to see it tomorrow, but I have a feeling it's probably next week. 1 week before sounds about right.
Dude, if they do one immediately after the podcast, I'm going to be very mad. Capcom, I mean, come on, well, then again, considering that we've been recording the podcast at very weird times, like sometimes it's on Thursdays, other times on Capcom's like, hey, when can we release the trailer over here?
We don't know.
It's like, we don't know.
Give us a clue.
Exactly. You guys got to warn us in advance, and then we'll tell you when you can release a trailer.
Yeah. The one thing I like, I mean, the same is in English as well, but specifically Japanese companies are very consistent when they say early month, mid-month, or late month. Like they're usually very specific. So I think the last week of the month is a given because the way that they're saying it is end of April, not second half, but end of April. So my guess is 2 weeks. So,
okay.
2 weeks to make those decos, guys. Cross those boxes.
More
dot
like
the I's, cross the T's.
Get them charms, or do you think we're going to get another melding option? Get those charms.
I think we're getting a better melding option, and everyone's going to be like, "Why did I waste all my time?"
Well, I mean, it's not really that big a deal if you just do a couple of rampages.
They're all good.
I think that people are saying that there's a more efficient way of doing it by doing the final boss and whatnot, but I think rampages are way better. I actually got a wyvern gem out of a rampage earlier today, and this was after doing a quest for 2 Diablos like 3 times in a row, chopping the tail, capturing both of them. And I still didn't get the goddamn gem. It was insane.
I have to give a warning though, because I was using all of my defender tickets to make decorations.
Yeah.
And now I've been making nothing but rampage weapons, and I need freaking tickets because I sold them all.
Why are you making rampage weapons? That's actually a
some
good
of them,
topic.
Some of them are really good, really good.
I don't know.
Okay, I did a video on the horn. Right, the hunting horn is absolutely fantastic.
So that's actually one of the other things that I wanted to ask you. That's the horn that does the healing thing.
And it's not just, you don't have to do the healing thing. There's an attack variation of the song you can put on it as well. You're talking 200 raw with handicraft. You get healthy white. You get great songs. It's a beautiful, beautiful horn. It's really good. Or you get like 210 attack, I think, because you get the non-elemental boost as well. But of course, it does have that healing variation, which I adore, because you use that thing with. I'm going to make 2 of them. One is going to be the attack-focused one, so I can use the Earth Shaker, which just does crazy damage. And the other one I'll use with the Bead of Resonance, and then that is just like, it's like free Mega Potions the entire hunt.
I'm actually working on hunting horns right now because that is probably going to be the next guide that I do. And the thing that I was thinking about was Bead of Resonance with Sonic Waves.
Sonic Waves are so situational, though. I still don't. And doing 2 of them in a row isn't really going to have any effect because the monster would be still reacting to the first one.
I don't know. I just want to spam Sonic Waves at him. I don't know.
Yeah, because it plays it pretty much at the same time as you play it. But it is a way to get attack up on your horn, which is great as well. So I think it's a fair trade-off because the Earth Shaker, whatever you call it, is just fantastic.
Yeah.
But this is a good trade-off. If you have a song that can being played twice works, or if you just want to get attack up and you don't have attack up. And now I got to make a 3rd version of the horn now. I need 3 of them because I just discovered, and I made a video on this one as well, that in its 3rd iteration, as you're upgrading through the path, it has access to a different set of songs, which the game considers lower tier. And that lower tier one has a new song for the hunting horn, which is Razor Sharp level 3 for everybody.
Oh yeah, I saw you talk about that on
That's
Twitter,
crazy.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting mechanic to the rampage skills, by the way, you guys, which was something that I wanted to bring up in this podcast, which is weapons can inherit rampage skills that they aren't really meant to have, kind of. Well, I'm not even sure that the devs took that into account. Kind of feels like they did, because you guys remember
I'm sure they did, yeah.
I think I said in one of my many videos that I did for Rise, I said don't sit on your rampage skills, use them, because there's different rarities and stuff of the defender tickets. So you shouldn't save everything to the end, because when you get to the end, the tickets that you've been saving are not going to be very useful, right? So I've been telling people, like, use this stuff, and not on top of it, like, the stuff carries over with your weapon. So, like, if you upgrade the first version of whatever weapon you're making with a rampage skill, and then you continue to upgrade that weapon, that rampage skill sticks with the weapon until you decide to replace it. And the interesting thing is, because sometimes certain trees are connected, you'll have to do something from a monster and then you go down to another monster, you can get the skills from the first monster and the rampage skills from the first monster. And then you can go to the second monster and retain those skills. So, like, for instance, there's some situations where a gun lance would not have Silkbind boost, but because the gun lance before it had it, I can get Silkbind boost on the other gun lance, and it's really crazy. The rampage system there's a lot more depth in there than you can give it credit for if you just look at it at a glance for the first time.
Now, just so people aren't feeling anxious, I actually took 2 hours to go through and look at absolutely every single weapon. And there are not a lot of cases in which you kind of are going to kick yourself, like, oh, I should have did it earlier. I think the only ones that stood out to me were Diablos and Tigrex weapons. I think in some cases, the Diablos weapon, you could get Brutal Strike on it from a Tigrex, and that when you upgrade it. So instead of crafting it, you can just make it from the beginning instead of crafting the final form. There's not a lot of cases, though. I think most of the weapons are just like attack 1, attack 2, attack 3. But like you were saying, Silkbind boost is one of them. If you like it, it's like 10% additional damage for your Silkbind attacks. You can get that on some early versions of the weapon and bring it into the final form if you like.
And I think it's even
don't freak out if you haven't looked at it, but it is cool to think about.
But I think it's even interesting that I think that there's a couple of cases that I was looking in the Gunlance tree that I could actually, like, I could craft something and then go down to a certain point and then get a rampage skill and then bring it all the way back and then go down and go to it. There are situations where you can do that. And I was like, holy crap.
I was going to say, just so people know, when you roll back a weapon, it removes the ramp up skill.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Oh, no, dude. I wanted to do the whole circuit with some of the weapons just to get some skills. That would be pretty cool. But
so I think another thing is, I think I'm also partly to blame, I guess, but I also don't like the term. But I noticed that there's quite a few people who didn't understand what ramp up skills were, and they thought that they only were active during rampages.
Yeah.
And that's an unfortunate thing. And I wouldn't doubt that I bet there's Japanese users who are the same, but no, it's just buffs for your weapon using rampage tickets that are always active. My guess is that when they do a master rank, that weapons will start to have 2 slots, and then we'll see some really cool customization.
I remember a friend of mine, like, when I was showing him my weapons, and I was like, oh, I got to change this ramp up skill. And he's like, well, we're not going to do a rampage. And I'm like, so? It's like, this thing just works. You don't need to be in a rampage for it to work. So, I can see more
always
people
ramp up your weapons. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see more people getting that idea that it's just like a random thing.
I really wish, though, that they let you freely... I wish it was like the augments in Iceborne, where, let's say I unlock and I spend the tickets to buy 1 ramp-up skill. Like, let's say I change my bow to poison. I would love to be able to switch it over to fire and then back to poison, so I retain all the other ones that I unlocked, and I can just switch them. Right now, you literally just throw away the tickets, and you have to do it. You do it over again. That's a quality of life I would love to see them put in the future, because right now I'm making the rampage hunting horn is incredible, like absolutely incredible. Then you have the rampage bow is broken. It is so good. For most of the elements, actually. So I've been making, I think I have 3 final rampage bows, and I'm trying to make my 4th one right now. But oh man, so I've got I got a spread one. I'm trying to make a rapid for all the different elements. They're so powerful. Oh,
damn.
I like it.
I experimented with a very interesting skill, which is there's a skill in the Gunlance is called Wormstake Boost. And what it does is it boosts your Wormstake 1 level. So if your Gunlance is shelling level 3, your Wormstake will deal the damage of shelling level 4. And it was interesting because one of the most powerful gun lances in the game right now, which is the Howitzer, which is the only long shelling level 5 gun lance in the game because there's only one of each of maximum shelling. It has Wormstake boost, but earlier in the tree. So I was like, wait a minute. So I downgraded the gun lance to go get that skill, and then I upgraded the gun lance again, and then it's like it doesn't do anything. I was like, come on, man. But it's got Wormstake boost. I want Wormstake at level 6. I want shelling at level 5 and Wormstake. I think it's only fair because it says there, Wormstake boost deals damage 1 addition. No, it caps out, which really sucks. But it's okay because it's got Buddy Rally, and I've been doing a lot of stuff with Palicos. I've been really trying to min-max Palicos, which is completely insane.
I do have an idea, which I've been wanting to do. I just haven't had the time, is grab 2 fighter level 35 cats, put on Buddy Boost on my weapon, and just throw on a guard heavy bowgun and just sit in the back of the arena and see if they can kill the monster.
I think I saw something from Rage Gaming. He already made like a video something about Palicos soloing quests and whatnot. And I was like, oh, okay. that's not really what I'm looking for in my Palicos, but I do want to have more Palicos. The Palico thing is actually something that's almost the bane of my existence, because every time in between quests I go back to Yori and I'm like, Yori, come on. Give me that perfect gathering Palico. And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, I tried. I'm trying to get very, very, very specific, which is like critical up L, ranged attack, and knockout king. I want to get those, but then I also want to get like specific skills. Like I want to get all types of offensive skills. And sometimes I get those passive skills, but then it'll have stuff like the healing bubble. And I'm like, I hate the healing bubble. I would remove that skill from the game if I could. I hate it so much. The healing bubble.
I love it.
You like the healing bubble? I don't know, dude. No,
I love it.
I want my Palicos to do offensive stuff, like throw the mega boomerang or something like that. I want them to really just be attacking the monster as often as possible, as opposed to casting healing things. Like I can heal myself with potions. Don't worry about it.
I love, like, at level 35, they have like 250 or 230 attack. They're quite beefy.
Yeah, they can actually dish out a significant amount of damage, which is why you put Knockout King, put a blunt weapon in there. Like they'll get some KOs every now and then. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I had a little fun with the assist. I was using the assist Kinsects the other night with the insect glaive.
Yeah.
And if you do the A button attacks, like the forward lunge, they attack with the end of the glaive. They sort of become one with the glaive, which means that you essentially have a blunt weapon. So if you use a blunt Kinsect, you can knock shit out. It's amazing.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Arekkz the other day. He was telling me like the Carnage Beetle or whatever was just like redonkulous, because I think his latest guide that he put up was for the insect glaive. So he was telling me about, dude, this Carnage Beetle, it's insane. Like, okay, it's got a lot of damage. It's got blunt. You can do a lot.
That's the one I'm talking about. The red one. Yeah, it's cis type. He grabs 2 colors at once. He's great. He's slow as molasses, but if you can get over that, he's good.
But that is also one of those that brings 2 buffs back.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes up for the fact that it's slow. It's like, yeah, it's slow, but it'll bring 2 buffs back every time that it goes out.
And it always brings red. No matter where it hits, it brings you back red.
Yeah, so at least you have always red, no matter what. So it kind of makes up for the fact that it's slow, which is nice. I really like the completely different kind of Kinsect. Since we last spoke, I actually went out and I basically bought all of the higher tier Kinsects just so that I could try out that attack that you were talking about with the. I was like, that's pretty cool. I like that attack a lot. That's really funny. We should try to work out a build or something to min-max the damage out of that particular Kinsect, because that looks like it'll be really cool.
But yeah, it's been fun just messing around in the game right now and just trying off different stuff as I drag my feet on making tutorials. I'm very close to starting. I have 4 scripts that are completely done. I just have not had the time, because there's been construction going on next to my house. It's raining today, so they're not out there banging. So I can't record during like lunch or something, which is when I normally would try to get some headroom. I can't do that. So it's just like I just haven't had the time. But
So I actually wanted to ask you about the tutorials, about the weapon guides, because I mean, when back in the day, like yours were at least as far as creators went for Monster Hunter, yours were always the guides that would like pop up if I was looking for a guide for weapon for something like for you or something like that when I didn't know what I was doing, or Generations. Whenever I would look up, yours would be the one that show up. What is like the process for you getting started on doing one of those weapon guides?
It's interesting because it's very different from doing any other video. I try to think of it like a presentation. Like I'm sitting up in front of a class and the whole thing is, first I have to get everything on paper, right? So I have to get into the training room. I have to mess with all the different moves, all the different combos, understand all the different parts of the arsenal. Then it's almost like a weird process. It's almost like in my head or on paper, I put them on Post-its, and then I start grouping them by complexity. And then I start thinking, okay, if I told, and I'll write several versions of the script. I'll be like, what happens if I start off by telling them about this? And then I go into the rest of the mechanics and I'll say it out loud. I'll like voice it as I go through it. I'm like, yeah, that's confusing as shit. I'm lost. It's like the game teaching you how to use the camera before it even teaches you how to run in the game. It's like you're getting ahead of yourself. And then there's certain things that I look for. Like there's the phrase that always pops up in a video, which I'll get to in a second, which we'll talk about later. Yep. That is a key sign that the order is wrong. It's a key sign. It's not totally bad, but for a tutorial for me,
don't say it like that.
I say it all the time. No. Hang, wait. I do it all the time. But to me, it's a sign that for a tutorial specifically, it means that there could be some reordering to make it a little easier to follow, because no one is going to keep anything in the back of their head.
But like
they don't know what.
Think of it like this. There's a very specific case in the last guide that I did, which was for the switch axe, where I'm like, okay, so I'm talking about axe mode. I'm going to tell people how to do the heavy slam, which increases the rate at which your amp gauge goes up. So you're like, okay, so you do this attack, and I'm trying to explain it by parts. So like, first I go through axe mode, and I'm like, you do this, and this is going to allow you to boost your amp gauge buildup, which we'll talk about later. I mean,
it's tough.
You can't just be like, and now let me talk about sword, and then we'll go back to axe again. It's like, it doesn't work.
Exactly. There's some points where it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
To me, it's like programming. It's a go-to statement, and you want to remove as many as you can.
Yeah.
And it's tough, but it's also very fun for me, because I'll keep rewriting it, and I'll keep I'm like, how does this make sense for me? Like, if I didn't know the weapon, does it make sense to tell me about the spirit combo first, or talking about the basic combos first? And like, it's just different. And I found that my way of digesting it seems to work well for a lot of other people as well, the order in which I put the information. And this time I'm trying something completely new, where I'm taking half the weapon and I'm breaking it down to the fundamentals and then the more advanced techniques. And so what I'll do is I'll go through the philosophy of the weapon, the fundamentals, just so you understand the core concept and the core moves. Show off like a hunt using just those core moves, because like you can learn a weapon without knowing the complexity of it. You can get a feel for it, and then introduce the more advanced techniques, and then go over them. So it's gonna be really interesting, as I've never done that format, but I've gone through. I think I'm on version 11 of my Lance script, where I've rewritten the thing 11 times.
Jesus Christ!
And I feel very good about it. The other hard thing is deciding what not to include, because you could jump down the rabbit hole as heavy as you want, right? We could talk about super armor. Oh, this one gives you super armor, so you're not knocked out. It's like, this is not an advanced tutorial. This is for people who have never touched the weapon. They want to know how to basically be proficient at it. Save that for another day. There's only so much information a person can or wants to digest in one sitting. So,
because otherwise you end up with a Gunlance guide that's 50-something minutes long.
So my guess is, I don't know how long my tutorials are going to be this time, but I would like them to be under 20 minutes.
Jesus.
But we'll see.
But that's scripted. Like you actually script it out and then you record it. And yeah, the way that I do it is completely different. I just find this very funny because I was watching an Arekkz video the other day, and he was telling his crew that basically he's been living in the training room, and I'm just like, that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. I've just been living in the training room, like testing out all of the different combos that you can do with weapons to try and figure it out. And it's funny because you can spend a lot of hours in the training room, and you still and then you can go and you can do hunts and stuff, and you still will not get the entirety of the depth of a weapon. And that is so, in a way, it's very frustrating, but in another way, it's been incredibly satisfying to see how the community reacts to that, because in a lot of situations you'd expect people to be like, Psh, you didn't mention this thing, you dumbass, or something like that, right? I can tell you right now that reading through the comment sections of my guides, nothing like that has ever happened. What people will say will be like, hey, listen, you missed this thing, but amazing video, you just missed this little thing or that little thing. And I'm actually thinking of potentially even doing like a couple of addendums in the future. Because, I missed some stuff on the lance. Like, I didn't know that you could triple poke. Not triple poke. Well, what is it? It's like some kind of an attack that you can do out of Power Guard that does like a triple poke thing. I didn't know that was a thing. And
I mean, there's always going to be something we're not going to know, right? Or something they're going to change. And so I almost think that I almost want to tell people, if you've watched this video and you use the weapon and now you're getting to the point where you are noticing these things, then congratulations, you are now proficient.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Like that's part of the joy of the weapon, is finding the tech, I guess you could say, right?
But I do want to make sure that everybody understands, like, I'm not upset. As a matter of fact, I love seeing those things because it teaches me more things as well. Because it's always nice when the veterans of a weapon come in, because let's face it, there's no way that I'm going to be proficient at 14 weapons. It's just not going to happen. Like, I can use the 14 weapons to a certain extent. Like, I'll know the basics, but I'm not going to be proficient at 14 weapons. I consider myself proficient at Gunlance. That is the weapon that, like, I'll tell you all you need to know about it. A little bit minus the wide shelling stuff, because I didn't like wide shelling at all in this. Well, not at all, is maybe a little bit too strong. I didn't like wide shelling as much as the other two styles in Rise. But with the Gunlance, I have hundreds upon hundreds of hours on the Gunlance, and I feel at home. Same thing for the Sword and Shield, hundreds upon hundreds of hours. Same thing for the Charge Blade, hundreds upon hundreds. But like, when you start moving away from that, when you get to the Lance, I'm like, okay, I have a couple of Lance hunts. Not amazing at it. I have a couple of switch axe hunts. Not amazing at it. I have a notion what it is. And by the way, switch axe is so fun now that I've tested it out. Dude,
so good.
Switch axe feels so friggin' good. Like soaring. I remember thinking about the soaring wyvern blade. I was like, man, it's gonna remove invincible gambit. But you can get to that. You can get to that thing where you do. What was it? It was this
Zero sum.
Not zero sum. It was this move that I did. Oh yeah, the compressed finishing discharge, which I initially I did it on the dummy, and I was like, this is not that impressive. I like zero sum discharge a lot more. Zero sum discharge does a lot more damage and all of this. But then I realized, but this one you can do immediately after the switch charge, and it doesn't spend any of the gauge, and it'll still do a lot of damage. And basically you get a closing, a gap closer into the monster, into sword mode, into friggin' compressed elemental discharge finisher, and you can do that super fast and not even spend gauge. And I'm just like, wow, that's friggin' wild.
Yeah, it's a great move for power file types who aren't going to be going for zero sums and amped states a lot of times. It's a great move for it. But yeah, so the guides it's a long process. I've probably spent at least, I'd say, 10 hours on just the Lance guide, just writing it. And I've got they're just sitting on my desktop. I got the hammer, I got the long sword of all things. Hunting horn, and they're all version 7, version 8 or whatever. And I keep coming back because I read them out loud and I try to envision doing them, where it might actually be faster if I just flat out cold record it and then see what works and what doesn't. But if I start doing that, then I start I get too anal and I keep redoing it over and over again, and then I realize I just spent 40 hours doing something that isn't that different than the first take. But I care very much about the presentation of information and the order, and I find that everyone's guide is different in that regard, right?
Yep.
Some focus more on combos, some focus more on communicating the depth, and I'm trying to focus on comprehension. I want you to feel like you understand what's in your hand when you put it there. So
I mean,
I'm excited but nervous to get started because they are my flagship content.
yep.
But I think as someone who's worked, doing presentations, whether it be at jobs or whatever, I enjoy that aspect of not teaching, but of presenting information. So it's a great challenge for me of how to rewrite stuff in a way that makes it more easy to comprehend. So fingers crossed, I do an okay job this time. I know there's a lot of pressure. But like you said, the training room means that it'll be easier to record. The production will be easy this time, which is good.
The training room was basically a godsend for those kinds of videos because you're like, well, I got to show a guard point. Well, we'll just go over there, make it stomp, and then you go there and he's like, boom, boom, very easy to show guard points.
I just remember for you trying to show off stuff, and I thought it'd be faster to go to Shagaru. That monster knows when you're recording, and it will just blow up everything all over and just screw up. It's just like you just wasted 20 minutes recording horrible footage.
Yeah, recording.
And that's why
recording on live monsters is a bit of a pain.
Really stressful.
I remember trying to showcase builds in Worlds sometimes, and I'd be like, the only way I'm showing this build to my audience is if I fight against at least a tier 2 tempered monster. That's like the bar that I would set for myself. So I'd have an amazing build, but it would be on something like a hunting horn, which I would suck at playing, right? And then I'd spend hours upon hours because it would have to be in one hunt and I'm not allowed to cart. Like, even though I can edit that stuff out, I would put that limit on myself. It's like, no. If you can't kill this monster in one hunt without carting, the build sucks. This is like,
wow.
That was not a good idea. A lot of days I would spend hours upon hours of just recording with the same build, and I'm like, I know this build is good. I'm just playing like crap, and this is bad. There were a couple of builds where I eventually just whatever. I carted once in this build. I don't care. It's whatever.
Yeah. It might disappoint some people. Like, one thing though that I decided I'm probably going to step away from this time just because it's too much of a rabbit hole, and they might also change it in future updates, is stuff like motion values or stun values and stuff like that. Like, in the past, I put them because once the game was out, it was out. But now we know that as they update the game, they might tweak things. And the last thing I want is to make a guide about, okay, well, this has 30 stun versus 40, and then they change it. And it's like,
oh yeah, I'm never touching motion values. Screw that noise. I was just like, hey, look, this move, the number was bigger on this one, means means it deals more damage. This move deals more damage. The other move is faster. That's why it deals less damage. There you go. Boom, done. Problem solved.
Boom. Bada bing.
Well, I'm actually curious about something. When we brought up the switch axe, because this was a question that I had. With the switch skill, the overhead slash, I'm like, I'm never using the forward slash ever again.
See, I find the beauty in both of them. They're both very specifically different.
Like here's the thing. I get what the advantage is from one of the others. It's like there's animation commitment, there's other things, but it's faster. Forward slash is a little bit faster. But like just the sheer, I'm coming from all the way over here and bam, straight to the face. I'm just like, dude, like, why do I want that poking thing? This isn't a lance.
It's all about positioning. The positioning is so much easier on the typical forward slash. You never overshoot stuff. It's perfect position, has really good hit range. And if you're not caring about overly abusing the sword mode, then it's a really fine choice because you can go into other axe attacks, where the other one is basically meant for charging into a monster, hitting them really hard, and then immediately going into sword because it gets that really nice double hit.
Yeah.
So for a weapon where you're trying very, very hard to build up amp gauge, it's a very good move. So stuff like power file types, which need that extra help.
Yep.
But if you're using like a paralysis or poison or something, you're always in an amp state. You almost never need that. So having that extra precision, I find to be better.
I've only ever used the power files because we have limited materials and I don't do save editing or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, I need something that I can fight every monster with. So I'm gonna go get a power file. I was not aware that the other files charged. I was not aware that the other files charged like so much more.
Once you go paralysis switch axe, it's almost impossible to use something else. It is that good.
But I'll tell you what though, the design of the switch axe that I crafted, it's friggin' beautiful. It's that chainsaw one. I think that's actually one of the generic ones, right? Because there's a bunch of them that look like that. I crafted the dragon one because it had like really good raw. It had like 5% affinity or something like that. And I was like, dude, this just seems like a really good one, all rounder. And then when I looked at it and working and like you swap into sword mode and you start hearing the chainsaw sounds like, and I was like, what the hell, dude? This is awesome.
So here's a challenge for you with that overhead smash. Try using that against Nargacuga. I guarantee you will not have a very good time. Or at least not in my experience. For small little monsters that move out of the way really fast, that extra half second is just way too long. But I don't know. Just play around with it. See what you think. I think they both have their uses.
Yeah.
Because at first I was the same way. I was like, I'm never going back. This is way too good. And then I'm like, yeah, going back, it's kind of nice. It's like the bow. It's got the dodge bolt versus the charge step. They both do the same thing, except for the dodge bolt is if you counter, like you parry, it immediately puts you in full charge. But the thing is that it barely moves you at all, so you can't really reposition. And when you're really caring about critical distance, unless you're right up on a monster's face, the charge step trumps it in every way. If you're not playing close, so they both have their uses as well. If you're up on a monster's face, then yeah, dodge bolt is the way to go. But normally charge step, oh man, and charge step with evade extender, Jesus Christ, you're like jumping halfway across the freaking arena.
We got to talk about evade extender. That's
the god skill in this game.
It is, but it almost feels like some weapons might have potentially been nerfed in order to, because there are some weapons that I used to be able to play just fine without evade extender, like charge blade. I never needed evade extender for charge blade, but now you take evade extender away from me, the weapon becomes almost unplayable for me. And like
I'm kind of curious if they changed it, because they actually changed the hunting horn. The walking animation was changed. So you take babier steps. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but your movement is actually a little bit more restricted than it was in previous games. So Invade Extender level 1 makes it perfect.
Yeah, see, that was another one where I was playing with the hunting horn. I'm just like, dude, I just cannot get away from these monsters. I can't do it. And then I put Evade Extender on that, and I'm like, okay, now it feels good. Whereas in World, I never felt like I needed a Evade Extender to play Hunting Horn. So, there's plenty of weapons that I feel are like that. And what about the Lance Hops, dude? The Lance Hops got nerfed into the dirt. Like, they're already not that big. In Rise, they're like, your character barely moves when you do a little hop with the lance. It's insane.
It's okay. We're not using those to move around. The back hops are okay.
Really? You
I'll tell you what, the Evade Lance is back, baby. I've been using Evade Lance. It is back.
Okay, so we got to get into Lance, because I have so many complaints about the Lance. There's like,
this is gonna be fun because I'm the polar opposite. I have so much good stuff to say about the Lance this time.
So you remember, I don't know if you were playing Lance at this point in Rise or not, but like, with the introduction of Rise, they did something to the counter guard where they gave you a couple of frames of hyper armor. So like, you nailed a counter, but monster has follow-up attacks, because so many monsters have follow-up attacks now, right? So even if you nailed a counter, you still get hit. So what they did was they gave you a little bit of hyper armor, not too much, just a little bit, so that if the monster does another attack in quick succession, you didn't get sent flying. So you would do the counter, and you would take a little bit of damage or whatever. Well, I mean, if it was a Black Diablos, it would be a lot of damage, but you wouldn't get sent flying, which was great. It was an amazing quality of life thing for the Lance, and I loved it. And then you get to Rise, and you do Anchor Rage, And you're just like, yeah, big. Nope. The monster just like slaps you aside. Like you land the perfect counter, monster like, slap. Nope. Just completely denies you. And I'm just like, if Anchor Rage just had the same thing that we had in Counter Guard back in World, I feel like that would be much better.
See, I get the complaint because it makes it harder, but I also like the strategy that it adds to the weapon. The fact that the back hop is now an incredibly integral part of the weapon. If you have, let's say, a monster like Diablos is a great example, right? Because he does two head swings at you, right?
Exactly.
So you know that he does two. So he does the first one. You're not supposed to counter it. You're supposed to do a back hop. And then you counter the second one. Where in the, like you're saying, in the past, you just counter anything. It was a little too good to be true. I like the idea of having like it's a boxing match. Like if you punch me and I counter punch you and then you're coming at me with another punch, we're both going to hit each other in the face.
The problem is
like I like the idea.
Positioning for that second hit. Because I've even gotten dead angled by that second hit a bunch of times with me trying to turn the shield around to prepare for the second hit, and he just dead angles me from behind. Like multiple times that has happened. Like not even trying to counter, just trying to block it. Which is kind of weird because, I used to be able to just like, I'll sit here, I'll block it. He's going to go through. But now he dead angles every now and then, which I'm like, what the hell's going on? This is some weird stuff. Have you experienced that at all?
Not myself, no.
I've gotten dead angled quite a few times, which is why I'm like, this is kind of weird.
So, I mean, usually what I'm doing is I'm doing much less countering and more of the Anchor Rage. So I'll like dodge the first hit and then I'll Anchor Rage the second. So Anchor Rage is my go-to for pretty much everything, which is why...
I thought you wanted Spiral Thrust.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So there's a discovery, and this is why the Lance tutorial is going to be much later, because there's just a lot of depth here to understand. Let's talk about like Anchor Rage, right? So you take in the brunt of the attack and it becomes a power-up, right? Huh? So if you put in guard skills on your weapon, you're going to make that Silkbind attack less powerful. The idea is that it takes in the amount of knockback you would have received from the attack.
Yeah, someone actually said that in my comment section. I was like, "Oh my god, no!" Why?
Yeah, so if you have guard level 5, which I have on one of my sets, you're getting very little to no. You're only going to get the weak version of Anchor Rage because you're not really absorbing a huge amount of blow because your guard already made it so that it was reduced. If you go in there with an Evade Lance with no guard, then even medium-sized attacks are going to give you the biggest buff possible and you're going to be kicking ass. The Spiral Thrust is the opposite. The Spiral Thrust looks at the guard, and the stronger your guard is, the more attacks it can plow through and give you bonuses. So if you're running like guard level 3, you want to be using Spiral Thrust. If you're running no guard, you want to be using Anchor Rage. It's a really weird difference. It's like they made one for Evade Lancing and one for guard lancing, but you could still use it on either style. It's not like it's useless. It's just not as effective.
That was one of the things that I mentioned in my guide is that like if you don't have guard when you do spiral, then you might get knocked back enough that it cancels out the attack, which kind of sucks.
Man, guard level 5 with Spiral Thrust. Oh my word!
Oh yeah, that's my Lance set. It's like Spiral Thrust, guard level 5.
Nothing can touch you, and you're just like boom, 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 boom. It's so good.
It's pretty crazy. The going back and forth with Spinal Thrust. It's really cool. So one more thing, and this is one of those things that I don't understand why, but how do you feel about Instablock? Actually, let's go with that first. How do you feel about Instablock on the Lance?
To me, this brings back the exact same argument we had in Generations Ultimate, because there's a lot of people who didn't like it because it has the same problem that you were talking about, which is if there's a multiple hit attack coming at you, you do not want to Instaguard the first one. You're going to get your ass hit.
Yeah,
but it makes it much harder because you don't have a normal guard. So it's like, what do I do? And so it's another thing where it's like, you got to learn how to use back steps because you're just going to get wasted every time. So I find it very situational, right?
That's actually not the point that I'm bringing up at all for Instablock.
Oh, okay.
The point that I'm bringing for insta block is that the window is way too tight.
I know you're baiting me into saying
no, I'm not.
Good,
no,
I'm not joking.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Jesus Christ! Not at this time. Not at this time of the night, Gaijin. I don't expect this betrayal.
You're baiting me at this point. You're like,
no, but
it's hard to do.
No, but seriously, like I'm talking, for instance, you have there's a guard point. There's a guard point window, right? I'm talking about, for instance, in a charge blade, the guard point window with charge blade.
Yeah.
The window of time for insta block is less than half of a guard point, and I mean, like maybe even less than a third of a guard point.
It's a true parry. Yeah, it's really tight.
It's mega tight. Like, cause I was trying to do it and I couldn't do it with the very predictable stomp of the dude. I could not do it. I was like, dude, this is insane. Cause like, I know exactly when this thing is coming down and I still can't do it. So it's
I actually find the stomp harder to fight against than most monsters. That stomp it's not easy because it's got tremors, it's got a weird hit window. Like I would much prefer to practice using the projectiles from the monster. The stomp is just a really weird, I was trying to do the counter for the insect glaive, like when you press A and you do the forward counter. It's really, really hard to pull off against the Toadversary. But if you go into a battle, like you're going to have no problem at all. So I don't think that it's a good representation of
it's weird because like if I go in there with the Gunlance guard edge, no problem. Charge blade guard points, no problem. Like any other thing that I do,
they have like windows that are like, oh.
Yeah, but the window on that thing just feels so incredibly tight. And then the thing is like it'd be one thing. Okay, this window is tight, but there's a payoff. But then the problem is that there's also no payoff. That it's a really tight window for like no payoff. You get like this cross slash. It looks cool. I'll give you that. Yeah, it looks cool. It's a cross slash thing, but
it deals a lot of damage.
No, it doesn't.
What if you're hitting the foot of the toad? I mean,
it doesn't deal any damage at all. That goddamn thing, dude. Come on. Like I like it. I hit him in the soft spots. I even put the head down to hit him in the head with the friggin' thing, and I'm just like, dude, this damage is just not good.
I mean, the whole idea is that if you can get the timing down, which is a huge skill commitment, and it's tough and it's really tight. It was much easier, I think, in Generations.
Exactly.
The fact that you can guard anything, and you don't lose no stamina, you don't lose no health,
and you don't need guard.
It's totally free.
Yep.
Then I understand why they made it hard to do.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I said. It's like, hey, the upside of this thing is that it doesn't need guard. It doesn't need anything. You can do your evade lancing stuff, and boom. I mean, the just works part is gonna.
But I agree, like, it's tricky, so it's not part of my normal arsenal.
It just works after you put about 100 hours of practice into it.
Maybe 200, yeah. I agree with you on that point that it's hard to do. But I do think that the benefits are there to outweigh it. It's certainly not as abusable as it was, and it was so good in Generations, though it made the game super easy.
I really don't think that the cross thing is worth it. Again, I could be wrong, but most people in the comment section agreed with me. They were like, "Yeah, this insta block thing, it's kind of a little bit weird." So yeah, it's just a couple of complaints that I had in regards to the lance that I felt like. There's a couple, because the reasoning I brought that up is because all of the stuff that I've done prior to the lance was like, so for instance, I go into gun lance. I'm like, this is the best version of the gun lance ever. Go into sword and shield. This is the best version of the sword and shield ever. Go into charge blade. I'm not sure if it's the best version ever, but after I practiced a little bit with it, this feels freaking great. I still really, really enjoyed it. Then I got to the lance and I was like, I kind of want to move on to the next thing. I was like, I don't know.
I will still give Iceborne the best version of the lance, probably.
Dude, that counter in Iceborne, where you guys whee! and then go back at the monster. That was so cool. I love that.
And there was something about the power guard. I don't know if it's a visual difference, but it felt better to do in Iceborne. I don't know.
It was definitely a visual thing. Like it had more
and an audio thing
to it.
Weight.
Yeah. It
like
felt a lot.
Boom! Slam the shield.
And am I crazy, or did they change the input for the guard? Was it always just B for the power guard? You do counter, then you press B. Because in my head, it's always been back and B.
Huh.
It still works. It doesn't make a difference. It still works. But everybody was telling me it's just B. It's not back and B, and I was like, I literally always pressed back and B to go into power guard for some reason, and it just stuck. Like it never changed. I was like, oh, okay. There you go. But yeah, with that, I do want to thank everyone that's been posting comments in those videos, because the feedback is very much welcome. And yeah, those have been fun, learning new things. Now I'm trying to learn the hunting horn, and that weapon is just so goddamn good.
It's so good.
I've just been playing around with it and trying to see the different combinations, because like the thing about it is everything kind of links together effortlessly, right? Just everything just kind of flows. But if you do them in a certain order, there's a better payoff for it. And I'm trying to find like all of the orders, and I'm just like, geez, this is insane. So if I go,
this is the funnest part of my tutorial, was scripting that part. Like, how do you introduce the kick up? The kick up is like the most hidden move that most people will never find.
Yeah. But
it's damn good.
I was actually testing that just before we started the podcast. The kick up was it X plus A, or was it no, it's A, right? It's A after
forward and A, but it's only after very specific
after certain moves, forward and A, and there's the kick up, and then you can follow it up with other things. And seeing some of the moves, like, because I was trying to find the one where he just goes like this, but that move is that's not a single move anymore, right? It's only part of that multi-hit thing.
Yeah, it's part of the multi-crush, they call it. It's just part of the X move.
I just realized that I did a movement, and then the people that are going to be listening to this on the audio version, they're going to be like, go like this, like what? Like hitting them with the butt of the weapon. Hitting them with the butt of the weapon. That was like a very key thing in the hunting horn, instead of just like hitting with the big thing. I can't English. It's too hard.
Yeah. What I am most nervous about with the hunting horn tutorial is I really, really feel there's a need to highlight for people to understand shockwave damage and how big it is. Like the fact that there are certain moves that will do the same amount of damage no matter where you hit. That's huge. Like you can hit the hardest part of a monster and still be doing hundreds of damage, even though most weapons would only be doing like 10. Because the shockwave is like a barrel bomb. It doesn't care. And so yeah, I'm going to be very careful about how I phrase that. That's why like, that earth shaker move is so hard to give up. Oh my God.
It's like one would almost say it's like a gun lance shell. Does it scale with attack?
It does.
Of course it does.
Of course. Not
like a gun lance shell.
It doesn't have a shockwave level.
Yeah, exactly. I really wish they would get rid of shelling levels. Like I would love to see it. Just get rid of it. In my opinion, that's just a terrible design thing that it makes me look at gun lances in a very different way. I'm just like, well, this one's shelling level 4, the other one's shelling level 5. This one sucks. It's like, no, I'm serious. A lot of times I'll just look at it and yeah, there might be some redeeming qualities there, but I'm still like, the shells deal less damage. I want to deal the damage with the shells. I want to use the gun part of the gun lance. It's very, very frustrating.
As a lancer, it just makes me smile when I hear gun lancers frustrated at their weapon.
No, but
the brotherly love and brotherly hate between the weapons is so funny.
It's still a lot of fun. I've been experimenting with crazy stuff using those level 4 gun lances. Like I've been using Maggie's gun lance with the Hellfire Cloak skill, just to test that out. I actually really like that. It's a lot of fun. It's not optimal. I know it's not optimal, but I'm just like, the hell with it. I want to have Hellfire Cloak every now and then, and I'm going to use it, and I don't care.
So here's a question for you. This is going to break some topic, but how do you feel the fact that out of the initial launch, it's usually the case in which the flagship monster is the de facto weapon to make. It may not be the best, but in most cases it is. Like it does the job, it's always solid. You can't go wrong with it. Where this time it seems that the de facto is Nargacuga. How does that make you feel?
I don't care because I'm not a huge fan of the Nargacuga weapons. They have very little raw damage. Like, I get it. I get why people want it because everybody's trying to reach that 100% affinity. But me, I'm just like, no. Listen, I'm a man of culture, okay? I like Brutal Strike. I just wish there were elemental sword and shields for the for the five elements, right? There's 5 elements. Yeah, 5 elements. I wish there were sword and shields for 5 elements, all of them with Brutal Strike and like negative 30% affinity. That's what I'm looking for.
I just wish there was a way to give yourself negative affinity in this game.
Exactly. Like everybody wants their affinity to go up, and I'm just like, no. Bring it lower.
No, I want to go down.
I want the negative one.
And the damn bow user does the affinity up, and you're like, no, stop it. Yeah. Don't do that. You're making me weaker.
That's actually happened to me. When I was streaming my Sword and Shield playthrough, I eventually got to the point where I crafted the Anjanath Sword and Shield with the negative affinity with the Brutal Strike, and I was like, this is great. And then I'm fighting in the Frost Islands, and you have those little squid things that are running around.
Oh, no.
And then I'm beating on Gossarag, and I'm like, this is great. Suddenly they go by me, and I start seeing, and I'm just like, no! You gave me 50% affinity. Why would you do that? Take it away.
Took away my Brutal Strike.
Take it back. I don't want it. I think it was so funny. But I find that Brutal Strike was actually a very interesting thing that they did. And again, I'm pretty sure that Nargacuga is better because, just having the traditional critical boost, weakness exploit, critical eye, and all of that stuff. I know that stuff is better. But not having to think about that and actually going for skills that I think are fun. So like, for instance, I was doing the hunting horn. The first hunting horn that I did was Nargacuga because, yeah, just like you said, it is the default weapon. I mean, that thing's got attack up, affinity up, and I think it's less stamina consumption or more stamina recovery, something with stamina. I'm just like, this is amazing. This is an amazing, it's an amazing hunting horn, right? So I crafted that one. And then I was like, yeah, but what I really want to have is I want to go like Slugger, Stamina Drain, Part Breaker, and do like all these crazy things. So then I went and I crafted the Baroth one. And I was just like, well, it kind of sucks that it doesn't have like attack up, but it's got sonic waves. Whatever. I'm just going to do sonic waves and boom, go. So, that's one of the things that I've been experimenting with. I try not to get too stuck on the whole Wex CB because otherwise everybody's wearing Rajang's pants because that's what's happening right now. Literally everybody's wearing Rajang's pants and belts because that's where critical boost is. And then everybody wants their Wex 2 talismans and I'm just like, here we go.
I mean, that's fine and all, but for a game in which hunts are like 10 minutes long, it could be fun not to care about that kind of stuff.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. So that's why I
chasing
really don't,
the meta,
Yeah,
chasing the ultimate strength.
But that's really why I don't care about the Nargacuga stuff. It's like, yeah, sure, go get your Nargacuga 100% affinity.
The reason I was going to ask was Narga versus Magnamalo. So like, it's weird because you would expect that Magnamalo weapons would be the de facto, right? Because they're blast, they're powerful. But they just aren't getting the same use that Nargacuga is. I think part of the reason of that is that the fact that every single one of the weapons takes a purple orb to make. And the game really does not want to give out purple orbs. I mean, now Nargacuga has the medulla, but even then it's much better rates than going after a purple orb.
I think the main reason why you're seeing more uses on Nargacuga is that 40% affinity though. I really think it's just a matter of like people just they see that big chunk of affinity and the white sharpness, and that's that. Because for me, like if you gave me the choice, I would always be like, nope, give me the Magnamalo one. I'll take the Magnamalo one, please. Thank you very much. But again, to your point, I crafted the Nargacuga one because it was going to cost me a lot more materials to craft the Magnamalo one, because I would have preferred to craft the Magnamalo one. But the Nargacuga was like, it was 2 crafts. It was literally 2 crafts. Like, here's a craft, here's an upgrade.
No commendations needed. It's as long as you're not getting hit by the medulla.
Super easy. I was like, boom, boom, done. And then the Magnamalo one would have meant, okay, I have to go grind a low rank Magnamalo, then I have to go fight a high rank Magnamalo, then I have to capture 50,000 Magnamalos, and then I can craft this.
Exactly, yeah.
And somehow Ichinose comes out and said, "Hey guys, listen, I made weapons easier.
Weapons easier.
Yeah, it's easier to have. It's like
that's the greatest troll of 2021.
Like that meme that you see, that the old businessmen just laughing, and then we said we're gonna make it easier."
No, you didn't.
It's not easier at all. I've farmed so many Magnamalos. It is insane. Because not only me, but also I have friends that I play with that also want Magnamalo stuff. So we end up always trying to get that friggin' purple orb. We're gonna extinguish that poor monster. And that thing has a lot of upgrades. It's like 4 upgrades to get to the end of the Magnamalo tree, right? Compared to some of the weapons.
3.
3?
I think it's 3, but there's 2 for most other weapons. So
yeah.
But I'm really interested to see the update, because that's none of the weapons right now are in final form pretty much, because you can downgrade from everything, even in its final form. So everything seems like it's going to get extended. So I think Nargacuga is the clear winner for the version 1.1.
Yeah.
When it comes to de facto, if you just want to make a weapon and you're not sure which one and you care about doing a lot of good damage, then just make the Narga weapon. If you are sick of Nargacuga, then make the Magnamalo weapon. If you've been blessed with the orb, other than that, just have fun. But it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the next update, because I'm fully expecting that some of the exclusive armor skills are going to become craftable as decorations, and that's going to shake things up. Like being able to have, let's say they add in a handicraft decoration, that will change a lot.
Yeah.
There's certain weapons that just glow the second that you give it handicraft. So
the second that you get a little bit more sharpness, yeah, because some weapons do have a lot of sharpness problems. I feel like all around, like one of the things that I use the most in my sets is the Utsuchi helmet. I never take it off because you get razor sharp.
Oh, is it the razor sharp?
Yeah,
yeah, that's the the Minoto stuff.
Sorry. Oh yeah, depending on whether your character is male or female, But that's the one that's just like it's got 2 razor sharp, boom, done. So it's like most of the time I'm running at least that. I have a couple of charms that come with 2 razor sharp, but they're not amazing. So, I like to swap around with stuff. But yeah, that and usually some form of Evade Extender for pretty much every weapon, with the exception of the Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield is the one weapon where I'm like, I don't think I need Evade Extender for Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield feels fine. But every other weapon...
certain weapons I haven't touched, though, but I'm slowly making a weapon for each class, so to say.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised Yuna has, and myself as well, but she's really been getting into Greatsword. She thought she would hate it. But we were farming some undisclosed monsters and using Greatsword, and she really likes it. And she really likes the Adamant Strong Charge, because it's like, it's not nearly as powerful as the True Charge Slash, but once you go into it, you can't get knocked out. You can change the direction on it as well, completely. And if you get hit during it, it actually becomes a little stronger. So for her, it's like, it makes the weapon safe to use. And she's been really enjoying seeing the big damage numbers.
I find that interesting because the friend of mine that I'm introducing to Monster Hunter through Rise, he also wanted to get into the Greatsword. But then he was like, oh, but it's so slow. And I'm just like, well,
that's what she said, yeah.
And I was just like, well, just get a hammer. That way you can charge and move, and you still get the big numbers, and you get to KO. And he started playing hammer. He friggin' loves it. He's doing all kinds of crazy. Like he's actually doing spinning bludgeon a lot of the time because he thought that was good. And I was like, I mean, it's not bad, but there are other moves that should be doing. And then it was really funny because he was telling me like, there's still something with the hammer that's not clicking with me. And I'm just like, did you ever try using the level 2 charge? And he's like, what, level 2 charge? And I'm like, yeah, there's 3 charge.
Oh, gosh.
There's 3 levels to the charge of the hammer.
Hey, have you switched the charge? What? Switch?
No. The charge switch he did. He knew about the charge switch, but it was mostly because he never used the other one, which is basically a gap closer that you can kind of use a lot of times.
Oh,
Problem is
that's too good.
That sends people flying though, so sometimes accidents happen.
You gotta be careful.
Like I remember this one time that I was streaming and someone just accidentally, I'm going to say, sent me flying right into Fatalis' breath attack. Like here I was sitting safely outside the range of the breath attack, and then he goes, there you go. I wish I had a wire bug. I wish I had a wire bug to just jump out of the way after that, but no wire bugs in there. Only clutch claws. But speaking of wire bugs, do you think that they're going to make a comeback, like in a future Monster Hunter game? It's
tough, right? Because we recently went back and we played Iceborne the other day, just for the hell of it, and it still played fine. Like it plays great. And so I'm kind of thinking like it is the defining characteristic of this game, and it definitely makes the action a lot more fast paced. But I don't know if it's quite I don't know if it's a case where we can't go back without it. I think we could. I don't want to. I like it too much.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think that it's such an integral change that there's no way they can go back. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. I would much rather see them find a way to use the idea of the wire bug, or however his movement is very smooth, and we can be very deliberate in our movements, right? We know where we want to go and how to do it. Imagine if they found an idea where we can feel that degree of freedom, but underwater. That to me is more interesting.
Here we go.
Because I would love to see. I want to see Monster Hunter 6 with amazing underwater battles.
No, like I'm trying to find a game that's made underwater combat fun, and the one that usually comes to mind is like, I seem to remember that I liked what they did with Guild Wars 2 because they would change your skills the moment that you would go underwater in order to kind of like, they would give you more ranged options so that you wouldn't have to constantly chase after monsters in melee underwater. So that was kind of like an interesting half step that they did. But like, even then, I still wouldn't be like, oh man, I can't wait to jump underwater and go do this quest. Oh man, it's going to be so good. It's like there was never a case, I don't think, in any game where I would be like, oh man, let's go underwater and play and have fun. It's weird. Like,
but no, I don't know. I love the wire bugs though. I would love to see them stick around.
Because a lot of games have gotten flying right. Well, maybe not a lot. Some games have gotten flying right, like Gravity Rush and Anthem, for all its sins, it got flying right. So, it's interesting that you can get flying right, but somehow swimming underwater still feels like crap.
Yeah, it's just because there's no base, like there's no floor, right? So it's hard, it's floaty.
But the reason for the wire bug question is like, because I feel the way that Monster Hunter has evolved, right? You look at something like Freedom Unite, super slow, super deliberate. Even with a weapon like Dual Blades, which is like a super fast weapon, it's still something that it's very deliberate. It's very, you have to go in there and you have to know exactly what you want to do. 3U and so on and so forth. And then you start getting to generations. Not even generations. You start getting to 4U, and I feel like in 4U things start speeding up, right, a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Then you get into generations, things speed up a lot. And then you get into world, and not only you have the speed, but you have the fluidity as well. And now you have even more speed with that same fluidity. So it just kind of feels like it's been ramping up. So it's like, is the next Monster Hunter we're going to be just like instant transmission, like Dragon Ball, just like zapping all over the place?
Warping all over.
I think no matter what they do, if they take the wire bug away, it's always going to feel slower. And the question is, do you think that is going to be something that is going to feel good, or it's going to feel bad when we slow down the tempo again? Or do you think that they're going to they're going to find a way to speed it even more than with Rise, because I don't think you can get any faster than Rise.
Yeah, I don't think they'll speed it up anymore, but it's a tough question, yeah, because I mean, there's still nice things about the slower combative world.
Exactly. Because
So
like
I don't necessarily see them seeing as this is a stable that they have to adhere to. But we'll see. I think overall the lifetime sales of Rise and Rise Ultimate will probably play a good chunk of reasoning behind it.
because there's also the danger of eventually if you keep turning this knob, like let's say there's a speed knob to Monster Hunter, you keep turning it.
Devil May Cry.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Eventually you get your Devil May Cry. You're no longer Monster Hunter, you're Devil May Cry. And then it's like, oh wait, turn the dial back down a little bit more.
I almost feel like this is the fastest it can be.
Yeah.
To make it still feels deliberate, but it's fast paced, and they cut out so much fat. Like it's lean meat. That's what you're fighting, and it feels good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I do agree with what you just said. I don't think we can go any faster than this, because any faster than this, you start losing the identity of what Monster Hunter is. For a lot of people, they already think that it lost a little bit of the identity, with how fast it is. I still think it's fine, but I don't think I would want it to be any faster. But then again, the Monster Hunter team constantly surprises us. So, maybe they'll make it faster somehow, and I'll still be like, no, keep dialing that knob up. Let's go. What are we at? 11? Make it 12. Let's go. One more. Let's see how fast it can go. But I don't know, because I do think that eventually you get to a point where it's like, no, I feel like I want to get it a little bit slower. I want it to be more deliberate like it used to be, the animation commitment and all that, which is interesting because for as much as Wirefall feels like something that can save you, it's gotten me killed so often.
Wirefall kills me more than anything.
Yes.
More than anything. When you get hit, do not Wirefall back at the monster. For God's sake, don't do it.
Not even just back at
Nargacuga in particular. Oh my God.
Not even just back at the monster. I've been killed wirefalling away. Like the monster hits me and I'm trying
to take the fall, right?
Yeah, there's some times that you just got to take the fall. You can't, because you get used to it, because there's certain moves that punish you really hard if you don't wirefall out of them. But then there are other moves where it's just like, oh, I'm just going to wirefall, whatever. And then in comes the follow-up. It's like, bam, done. And you're like, whoa, that was a little bit fast. Didn't see that one coming. But yeah, that's some pretty crazy stuff. Now, there were some questions that you had from your Discord server, and I wanted to give a shout out to your Discord server. I have those here in the form of topics. They're a little bit different than the way the question was phrased because it was a real long question. So I'll start by asking, do you think we're going to see some of the more yokai-inspired monsters in future Monster Hunter games? Because this game is very much Japanese-themed, yokai-inspired. Do you think we're going to see it moving forward, or is it going to be like more of a Rise type thing?
No, I can see them going forward, and I think that's specifically why they chose not to make them actual yokai. Yeah. But it's just yokai was the design language. It's just the motif that they chose. So there's nothing about them that links them to the culture or the story of this game. It's just they all fit in because they have this theme behind them. So I could totally see them being used in other games. Like I could see, Gos Harag being included in future games and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we'll see them in the future.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a thing that we'll see, because it's one of those things that, for instance, you look at Generations and you get those 4 flagship monsters, and you see those 4 flagship monsters still showing up in other games despite the fact that they were kind of like made specifically for that. Or you look at Mizu probably showed up first in Portable Third, I would imagine, right? Because I never played Portable Third. Mizutsune?
Mizutsune, no, that's flagship from Generations.
Oh, right. God, I just said it. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, in my defense...
Zenogre was Portable Third.
In my defense, it's 3 a.m, okay? It's 3 a.m. where I'm at.
Out.
So... No, but like Amatsu. Amatsu was the one that was in Portable Third. And Amatsu still shows up in Generations, even though it was mostly envisioned for that story. So yeah, I think that we'll see yokai monsters and future iterations of Monster Hunter, and I think it'll be fine because the monsters still work outside of Rise. So,
especially if we get my wish. My wish is that for the Ultimate Edition of this game, my dream, you can call me on it right now, April, whatever it is, 2021. I want and I bet that the next map to be re-envisioned for the next iteration of this game is going to be the Misty Peaks.
yeah, unfortunately.
It's got to be. Unfortunately, what's that?
Because I want the deserted island, or whatever it's called.
That's another one I think is a prime suspect for that's another one I think a lot of people would be very happy for that.
Yes.
Can you imagine those are the two new maps for Generations or Rise Ultimate? How happy we'd be.
Oh my god, yes. Because I also really like the Misty Peaks. Don't get me wrong, I love the Misty Peaks, but like I want the deserted island. I want to go back to the deserted island. I want to see what it is like. Because that is the OG map that I've spent a lot of time in. And I want to see what that map looks like, re-envisioned through Rise. And if they do that, I'll be like, it's like just chef's kiss, just like straight up. That would definitely be one for the ages. I want to go back to the camp where the son of the village chief said, "Oh, go get me some meat. Go get me some meat." After you get and the camp's like all trashed and stuff because there weren't hunters in there for a while. The camp's all trashed and you get there. What the hell? I want to go back and I want to see like relics of that camp, just like all smashed up and whatnot. I think that'd be funny. But yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Apex monsters.
Yes.
So we're going to be getting Apex Rathalos with the update on the 28th. You've said the date.
Give me my Rampage level 5 hunting horn, baby. Give me it.
So you want to know an interesting thing about Rampages? A very interesting thing is that I just said earlier in this podcast, I'm not a huge fan of white shelling unless I'm in a Rampage. If I'm in a Rampage, white shelling is my favorite shelling style. Because somebody
hit the counter. Now Ruri's going downstairs. He's gonna blow everything up.
Yeah, pretty much. Because with the counter, like each of the explosions from the worm stake of wide shelling is like 1,300 damage or something like that, and that's 1,300 KO damage. So if you land that in the head, most of the time you KO everything. It's friggin' amazing. It's just like. So whenever I go to a Rampage, I'm just, here we go, wide shelling, let's go, have some fun, and boom. But any other situation, give me normal, give me blast dash, and Bob's wrong. But on the topic of Apex monsters, one of the things that I think the community definitely wants to see, because I see that comment a lot, we want to fight Apex monsters outside of the Rampage.
Yeah, and I think we will, and I think people are going to get their asses kicked, and I think it's going to be wonderful. Because think about it, we're so cocky against these Apexes when we're in this big arena with all these guns and super cannonballs, and we can cart all we want, and we're staggering because of counter gongs, and we're doing 1,300 damage on our Wyvern Stake Blast.
Yeah.
Can you imagine fighting these suckers in a normal quest? Now that is going to be a challenge.
That is indeed going to be a challenge. Which one do you want to see?
Mizutsune. Apex. I want to fight Apex Mizutsune in a traditional. My hope is that they allow the final form of weapons to be you versus the Apex in a normal quest, because those are going to be very tough quests, I think.
Yeah.
Like maybe you get a ticket or something for beating it or something, but like I want to see how that thing, because I've never really faced it one-on-one. It's like there's always mayhem when it's going on, right?
Yep.
And I have a feeling that's going to be a tough monster. Heck, I think Arzuros is going to be tough. I mean, they're basically Deviants 2.0. They're taking the same moves as they had with the Deviant system, and they're tweaking them. So, like, for someone who loved Generations Ultimate, this is fantastic.
I'm almost scared of normal Arzuros, let alone some friggin' juiced up Arzuros with friggin' steroids. steroids and a little bit of Magnamalo's drool or something that made him become all like pissed off. But yeah, Arzuros is gonna mess people up. But I was more thinking about stuff that we don't have in the game, like which.
Oh,
not necessarily.
I know who I want.
Wait, not necessarily monsters that aren't in the game. Like you can pick an Apex.
Yeah.
Just an Apex, a monster that is not an Apex. So you can pick something in the game.
So I have my favorite monster in the series. It's not an Elder Dragon. Is the Bloodbath Diablos. So if they have an Apex Diablos that is super aggressive and anything near it, I am going to love it.
Why Diablos? I hate Diablos.
Me and my Lance laugh.
You know what I call a Diablos nowadays? Not a Wyvern gem. That's what I call a Diablos. It's a not a Wyvern gem because I never get them.
Who do you want to see?
I mean, they're already giving me Apex Rathalos, but I think I would have to go with my chunky boy in Rise.
I knew you were gonna,
dude. Because it's like
Apex Tetraodon would be awesome.
You see when Arzuros comes in and he does his butt slam and all the walls come down. Now Arzuros, his butt slam. Let's be honest. I mean, it's a sample. It's a small little tiny little butt slam. Now Tetranodon, he's got a butt slam. And when if he was Apex and he was butt slamming, like he should level out. Like this would be something that could end Kimura Village. Okay, it's like, oh no,
I could see the promotional trailer already with the cats running down the hallway between the rampage areas, and they say, "Oh Lord, he coming!" And then he's coming down, and he's got red eyes, and he's huge. Oh Lord, he coming! Run!
It's like you would actually see a picture of Kimura Village, right? Like one of those wide shots, right? You're seeing the whole village stuff. And then in the back, there's the Tetranodon peeking, towering over the village.
I agree. He would be a fantastic Apex.
He's just such a fun monster. I friggin' love that monster. Every time that anyone asks me like, what's your favorite monster? I'm like, dude, Tetranodon. He's just the best, chunky boy, so cool. And every time I get to mount him, I just love. Butt slam repeatedly over and over, just like slamming out the monsters. Super satisfying. Fun. Now,
I love all the new monsters, so I think they would all make really good Apexes.
They would. I was actually just thinking when you were talking about Diablos, I was like, dude, imagine Gossarag. Friggin' Apex Gossarag. Like, what the hell? Just like freezes up massive. Instead of having like two blades, you could freeze up just like one really big, massive one, almost like a Glavenus tail, and just like. And instead of
Imagine if he just has like a spinning attack where he just spins really fast and then he just starts moving like a razor blade, like,
like Diablo 2 Whirlwind Barbarian style Gossarag. Oh man. But yeah, we definitely want to fight Rampage monsters. Not Rampage monsters. We want to fight Apex monsters outside the Rampage. Capcom, please make it challenging, make it hard, and let us fight them. I think that will be a lot of fun. They'll definitely have to adjust the HP though, because those HP pools would not work. Maybe it'd be something like you repel it in the Rampage, and then you would get to, it escapes somewhere. And you would get a quest.
That's a nice idea. I like that. Because the rampages, I think I told you in the last podcast, you have to try really hard to fail a rampage.
Yeah.
Like really hard. The only time we've ever failed was we purposely put our controllers down and we said, how many minutes will this take? And it took quite some time before they failed.
It still took
there's someone who has a video where the defenders can win a rampage for you. You don't even need to hunt.
I mean, I've had plenty of situations. Well, not plenty, but I've had a couple of situations where I carted, and the Wyvern fire cannons just took out the monster. Because I'm a master at aiming those Wyvern fire cannons. Like I'll know it. I'll predict exactly where the monsters are gonna be, and it's like the second they get close to that gate, it's like bzzz, just like laser beams all over you, and they just die. So yeah. You can get a lot done, and still. Actually, I have another question. Which one is your favorite NPC to summon in the Rampage?
Ah,
Mine is a very easy answer. Super easy.
I mean, I have a favorite for character, and I have a favorite for actual functionality.
Okay.
So, favorite for character, of course, has got to be Yomogi. Because you always summon her at the last minute, and she's like, yeah! She grabs her gun, shooting people. But as far as actual power, have you, like, Fugen? That man can hit.
Which one of the Fugens, though? You know there's two, right?
I did not know that, but I know the one where he charges up and he does like 8,000. He's like 4,000.
Yeah,
whatever.
I think that's the red one, but that's the final one. Yeah, the other one is weaker, but yeah, it's kind of the same thing. But there's two. You can basically get two Fugen, so you can use the first one, and then if you get enough points, I think I've only seen the red Fugen either in a 2-player hunt or that you're doing really well, or 3 players and above, because otherwise. You don't usually get that far. For me, even in terms of utility, I still prefer Yomogi. Like
so funny.
Yomogi is just so amazing because listen, Yomogi has 2 effects when she comes on the field. Okay, first, it's the effect of she's actually helping you out by shooting her machine cannon at the monster, and then she's got like this passive effect of a morale booster whenever you're fighting the monster. And you're just sort of, She actually screams it out before she starts shooting. And I just freaking love hearing her go like, ah, da, 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 da.
She's funny. Yomogi's here. Ah!
So yeah, Yomogi is most definitely my favorite NPC summon thing. I do think that it's interesting what Utsuchi says when he pops up, which I don't know exactly what does he say in Japanese. Can you translate what he says?
I don't know.
He's like,
I don't know. I mean, unless you can hear it. I don't like him, so I don't summon him.
Damn it! You have he basically makes every monster mountable. I guess it's not that exciting, but yeah. I'll summon everybody.
Wait, he doesn't say, "Aha, you're here." I'm here.
Imagine in the English version, he would actually do that. He'd pop up and go like, "Aha, you're here." As he's slowly coming up on the little platform. Oh man. So another question. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying that another question from your Discord was, what is the most endearing aspect of Kimura?
Most endearing aspect. I mean everything is a cheesy answer, but if I had to choose one, which I find really funny, at least in Japanese, I don't know how it plays out in English. It's the romance between that little boy and Komitsu, the candy apple girl.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
I thought that was funny.
He's always like Chigeshi. He's like a little. He sounds like He reminds me of the little boy from like Totoro, where he's just like, no, I don't like her. What are you talking about? And then when if you watch him sitting down next to her when they're eating next to Hinoa, like he'll be like glancing over at her like like getting all nervous eyes and shit.
He's the kid that makes the little rice balls, right?
Yeah. He's a total wuss, and she's not. And so apparently,
there's a story
thing.
There's a story about.
Yeah, I won't spoil it, but
there's a story around that romance that
cute.
is pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty nice. That is a very good answer. It's interesting because I was actually asked this last week by Arekkz because I was a part of Arekkz's Monster Mondays thing.
Yeah, I know. That was amazing. That looked great.
I thought that was really cool. The way that that show that I hadn't seen the other one that he did. I obviously watched.
He was in the barrel or something in the back.
I obviously watched this one because I was in it. So No, but seriously, I'm gonna be watching that show pretty much every Monday because there's so many good things. There's so many just random things, and he tricked me so hard with the "Can you guess this monster?" I was like, dude, what? Like, you can tell that they Photoshop rigged that thing so hard. Come on. That's such a Photoshop rig. I'm salty because I even thought about, I'm gonna go to the comments before the episode was over and I'm gonna, that's my chunky boy in the who's that monster? And then he goes and I was, God, you guys got to watch it to figure out what I'm talking about. But it was so funny, that stuff. But and in there he kind of asked me the same thing, and my answer is still, I love Fukushigi. I think it's really cool that there's like,
he's great.
There's a little secret agent inside your room, and you go to the thing, and he comes out, it's like, I have a secret. Minato's really bad at drawing. It's like, what? That's your secret?
The informant, yeah, he's cute.
I think that's really cool, but I do have to give another shout out for that thing that you showed me last time that I had no idea.
Oh yeah,
I showed that in my stream the other day, and people were like, "What?" Although we also had the glitch, so I saw the cats, basically the thing without the submarines. I had never seen that before. It almost seems like you wanting to see that extra animation causes the submarines to disappear, but. What we're talking about, guys, is if you go to Rondine and you send out the submarine, you send your Palicos on the submarine, when they go out, I found that they showed more often, this thing worked better if I let the whole animation play out, the animation of the submarines. So you let that animation play out, and then you teleport to the gathering hub, and you go to the balcony section where there's water. You'll actually see the submarines like go by, and your Palicos will like wave at you and stuff. Like, that was something that I also thought was really, really cool. And it's something that I imagine 90% of the player base will never even see that animation. They'll never even know that thing exists. But yeah, you just go there, send out your Palicos on the submarine, then go to the gathering hall and just see them pass you by. It's really, really cool.
There's all sorts of small, cute details. Like I like the cats that are drumming the theme song in the gathering hall. If you change the background music, they'll take a break.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they don't need, like, the song doesn't have a drum, and they're all like woohoo and just like taking a breather.
Another something interesting about those cats is that if you get close enough to the drum, even though the drum is not a part of the track that is playing there, the drum is still making noise, and it's actually synced with the animations that they are doing. So every time you see on one of the sides, he's going like really slow, ba-doom, doom, doom. On the other side, he's going a little bit faster, and the animation matches up exactly to the sound that the drum should be making. And I'm just like,
it's amazing.
That is crazy. Nobody would care about this, but it's amazing that you actually went ahead and you did it with the attention to detail that you did. And also, that was all a really cool thing that the localization team did with those two Palicos, with one being called Badoom and the other one being called Tish. Badoom. That was some funny stuff. So
again, that the cat taking a bath outside my house always cracks me up. There's a cat inside. If you, right outside your house, there, if you look inside the little shed, there's like a hot barrel bath, and there's a cat in there playing with a rubber ducky. Is he taking a bath?
Is he always there?
He might be. I don't know.
Because I think I remember looking at that, and I don't think there was anything there the first time that I went there. So
yeah, that's my guild card photo, is the cat playing with the ducky.
That's pretty cool. But again, from your Discord, favorite monster intro, favorite new ecology video.
I'll let you go first in this one.
I actually rewatched some of them because I was curious, and it's interesting because you see that there's definitely been more work in some of these videos than in others. In some of the videos, they just kind of like show you the monster. There's still the cool, all of the other cool aspects of the intro happening. But they just kind of show you the monster and they show him off and whatnot. That Pteranodon is one of those. He just kind of like shows up and I'm big and I'm bad and blah blah blah. So those are not great. I mean, those are great, but those would not be something that I would consider to be my favorite ones. I think, I'm not sure because I almost feel like I have to rewatch all of them to really get a solid idea. But I think my favorite one might be Anjanath's. because
interesting.
because there's the little palicos running away. And the guy's going like, run away, little palico. And then he hides he hides under the thing. And then he hears the roar of the engine. And he goes like, he's like all scared. And then when he peeks out,
I was afraid that he didn't get, I was afraid he died. Like he didn't get away. I was like, oh my God.
I was actually kind of like, how come he didn't kill him? Like I was expecting him to actually just straight up murder that cat. But that one was really cool because there's the whole thing about the little palico just running away. There's another one where the palicos are hunting in Sandy Plains, and then another monster shows up. I don't remember exactly which monster it was. Might have been Baroth. But there's another one where the palicos are just like playing around, and then suddenly something shows up to mess them up. I like those ones that include the palicos because it gives it a little bit more. Gets you more invested. Like there's also the baggy one with the popos where they're like, the first comes one in the flank and then something and whatnot. And those are cool. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I need to rewatch them because there's a lot of them I loved and I just can't think of. But the two, if I would just say which ones leave an impression, the two that come to mind, if I'm remembering correctly, that I found funny was most of them are like big monster trying to kill a cat or killing small monsters, and then you get the Kuluyaku one, and he's just trying to protect his damn egg. He's like, ah! He's running away. It's this fearsome beast, and there's the song going, and he's just like, ah! Running with his egg. And then Arzuros is another funny one because they make it so dramatic, right? And they're talking about, this bloodshed, killer, and he's sitting there, he's like, with his tongue hanging out, and he's just chomping on a fish, and they made it all dramatic and stuff. I'm just like, that's adorable.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. I remember
the slaughterer of salmon.
Yeah, when they start talking about Arzuros, they're like, oh, this bloodthirsty beast, and I was like, what? Arzuros? What are you talking?
He's smacking salmon out of the water.
He just wants to grab, like, even his picture even shows him like just holding a big beehive, just like sucking up on honey. Like, and they're like, the big bloodthirsty beast, the unquenchable hunger. And I'm just like, what? I guess from a lore perspective.
Someone tweeted that and they're like, Capcom, what?
I guess that maybe from a lore perspective, it kind of makes sense, but I don't know.
Those I found really humorous. I like those.
Yeah, those are pretty fun. But with that, I'm kind of like I'm out of topics. I don't know if you have anything else that you wanted to bring up.
No, I'm just absolutely hyped for the first update. So I was going to ask you what you plan to be doing for the next 2 weeks. Are you still going to trying out new weapons, making new guides, taking a break? What are you going to be doing?
I'm going to be basically making guides for the weapons. That's like my objective for Monster Hunter. So I've been crafting weapons. I usually go and I pick up like one or two of each, and then I start working on the guides. I already know that I'm not going to do bowgun guides because bowguns, to me, the guide of the way to do a bowgun guide is to test different ammunition, and I'm just not into the ammunition aspect of the bowguns, right? The management, because I actually like playing the bowgun, but I don't like micromanaging ammunition. I really don't.
Yeah.
So that's just not my thing. So the bowguns I'm steering clear of. The bow, I'm still thinking if that is something that I cover, because the bow is significantly simpler when it comes to the ammunition aspect. But every other weapon, I'll eventually make a video. Yes, even the longsword. I'll make a video for the longsword.
Well, his wife who uses it, so what can you say?
I already said she's going to be a Gunlance main. Just wait for the updates, okay? It's going to happen.
So you're going to hate this. I think I mentioned this last podcast, but I'm still, this weekend, I hope, I'm trying to find time to attempt my version of the tutorial of the game, where I just play it for the first 2-3 hours and I try to walk a brand new, never played Monster Hunter before person through the game and try to explain things better than the tutorials do. And I've decided that I'm going to have them use the longsword for that video. Even though I will give my elevator pitch for all 14, the game gives a longsword. It's super easy to use. It's easy to explain.
Listen.
Yes.
Because Gunlance. I don't even. No.
So wait, actually, I have a question about the Gunlance because I saw my favorite Lancer, Tech Lancer. He was tweeting this, where he was showing footage of him in a rampage using a ballista, and it's like, yeah, Lancer users get used to the fact that you never actually get to see what you're aiming at because the lance is like right in front of you as you're shooting the damn thing, so you can't actually see what's in front of you. Does that happen with the Gunlance?
Depends on the gun lance. Happens quite a bit with the mighty corn popper. You can barely see.
You're like shoot. You're like, I think there's a monster over there, so you're just shooting.
No, I mean, it doesn't completely cover it. I mean, it doesn't completely cover it. Oh, right, because the lance actually, some of them actually have like a spike that goes all the way up.
It completely covered it. It looked like he was just shooting in the dark.
No. Because like for me, the gun lance, because all of the gun lances, they break in half when you put them on your back.
Oh, yeah.
There's never...
Okay.
So it's like, sometimes it can get a little bit in the way, but it's never like completely covering your vision. It's not a problem.
Offline, I'll have to show you this clip from Lance. It's hilarious. It's like, you can't see shit. He's just shooting off. He's like, I know there's something over there.
Yeah, but no. With the gun lance, I can usually see what I'm shooting. Like the corn cob sometimes takes up a little bit more space than I would like, but you know, it's fine. It's not really a something that I would be like, oh man, I can't see anything. I can't shoot properly. It's never been a problem.
Nice. Yeah, and I think I'm going to keep playing for the next 2 weeks. I mean, we can't stop playing. I think I'm having fun just making decorations, trying out new weapons. I'm dragging my feet on tutorials, but I do plan to make tutorials for all 14 weapons. So I hope people do look forward to those. I apologize that they're late, but I think they'll be better for it. So me and Yuna are still just having a lot of fun.
And I do have the friend that I introduced to Rise. We pretty much kind of try to get a game session in every night just to get a couple of hunts for fun. We try out new weapons. And the other day we were playing. I was doing hunting horn and he was doing hammer on Magnum Malo, and it was terrible because like I think we even failed one of those quests because we kept getting hit because we don't know how to play the weapons properly because, you know, still learning and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, I need to learn this weapon. Let's go fight Magnum Malo.
Yeah,
that'll make you learn the weapon real fast. But there was one of the hunts where we started getting hits in. It was funny because, you know, you got the exhaust of the hunting horn, you got the stunning power of the hammer. So eventually it'd be like he'd get up, he'd be drooling, then he'd fall down, and then he'd get up, and then he'd get KO'd, and just like constantly falling over himself. That was funny as hell. But still playing a lot for fun. Not just playing for guides, still playing a lot for fun. But I will say, if it wasn't,
Japan gets lucky. Oh, go ahead.
If it wasn't for the guides, I would be spending most of my time still playing the Gunlance because Gunlance is just so much fun. So much fun.
I say we're lucky here in Japan in that the update comes at the end of the month. But the end of the month is when Golden Week is. It's a series of bank holidays here. It's like 3 or 4 in a row. And so if you take like one paid day off, you get entire 2 weekends and a full week off of work. Damn. So like the update is coming right on Golden Week. So like we're going to be right at home playing the living shit out of the game. It's going to be great.
I'm just a little bit sad that there are a lot of games that are kind of like being left by the wayside for me because of the fact that I've just been playing so much Rise. Like I haven't been able to get in as much time as I would like on Outriders, which I'm actually enjoying quite a bit. And 14 just came out with patch 5.5 today. So I still have to, you know, I'm probably going to stream some more of that tomorrow, but it's like, it's been crazy because on top of it, on the 23rd comes a game that I've been wanting to play since forever, which is Nier Replicant, which was the very first Nier. They're remaking that, and I'm just like, no, why right on top of this major Monster Hunter update?
I know, it's like, well, Fantasian I downloaded, but I haven't even booted it. The next month, Resident Evil Village comes out, and I want to get tortured by the daughters, and I don't know, I'm going to find time to do that. It's tough being a Monster Hunter fan.
It is. It's tough indeed. But anyways, thank you all very much for watching another episode of the Third Fleet podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, hit it up with a like. If you did not enjoy it, hit it up with a dislike. Feedback is important. There's going to be links to all of Gaijin's stuff down there, and I'll link Arekkz's Monster Hunter Mondays. If you guys aren't watching that, you should. He also brought up that tip about sorting charms. It's very, very important. So you definitely want to watch that. Learn how to sort your charms because it'll make things so much easier for you. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Take it easy, guys. Happy hunting.